It's already happened. All right. Let's see. All right. I need sound checks real quick from Monica. Okay. Oh, I got to change. I got to add something here. Hold on. You sound good. I've got to add a sound device. Where is...
I am a person who
There we
is
go.
on this
Woo-woo.
episode.
No, the stream needed you to hear you because you're not through Discord for the audio. So I had to just add something real quick, and we're good now. We're good now. Kit, they should be able to hear you. Yep, I know. I figured that was going to be a problem. But everyone sounds good. You're all coming through well, and we've got Zencastr ready for the recording of the audio. And just to make sure you guys are able to hear...
a palace for you to poop in.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Yummy.
Yummy.
I have one sound clip from the movie.
Oh, do you? Because I have a few.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if you have the same one.
Yeah, we'll see. We will find out. Nisbet,
I kind of doubt it.
we are using Discord, Nisbet. We are using Discord for the video, but for the audio recording, because I have 4 people, I'm using Zencastr, so everybody has their own audio track. To answer your question. All right. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready. I'm going to start recording. Where's the button? Start recording. Oh, it's that one. What do you know?
I've forgotten how we do this show.
It's all right. It's a blues riff and B. Just watch me for the changes and try to keep up.
Exactly.
Never.
Johnny be good.
Okay. Then we are going to be starting in 3, 2, 1.
That's East Proctor. All about here at Moors. I go this way.
Thanks for the ride, sir. You have lovely sheep.
Boys, keep off the moors. Stick to the roads. The best of luck.
Thanks again. I'm gonna miss you. Bye, girls.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode 186, and it is the start of October and spooky month. And so, just like we did last year, my 3 co-hosts from GORE are on, and we're going to talk scary movies all month. And those 3 co-hosts are the lovely Wicked Kitten.
Hello.
Let's see, is it the Ethereal Faye?
Yep.
And that guy over there in the corner, Dreadlord.
Hello. I'm also here.
Hello.
So our movie to kick off the month is the Monster movie. Now, last year we watched The Host. You all hated that.
Yes.
And so
Except-
we just...
They did. I enjoyed it.
Okay, fair enough. So
Well, everyone with taste hated it.
this year we went a little different route with our monster movie, An American Werewolf in London. And I almost called it In Paris. That was the, quote, sequel. Well, I'm sure that'll get brought up at some point. But An American Werewolf in London, 1981. Written and directed by John Landis. And I had seen this before, but it had been so long since I'd seen it, it may as well have been my first time seeing it again. Because I think I've seen this movie one other time all the way through. And I don't even remember how old I was when I saw it. But Monica, what's your history with An American Werewolf in London?
Okay, so I had seen American Werewolf in Paris first.
Okay.
And thought that was just a movie, and found out sometime after that this was a sequel, and went back and watched the original. I forget, it has been a while. but I've probably seen it twice before this, and then many scenes from other things. But yeah, so I saw this later in life.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually like you. I had seen American Werewolf in Paris first, knowing that it was a sequel, but I saw it in theaters, and then I went back and saw this, and that was the first and only time I saw London. So, Dreadly, what is your history with An American Werewolf in London, if any?
It's a very short history because I watched this movie for the first time somewhat earlier this year, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically I haven't seen, but I did, but kind of.
Sure. All right. And was there any reason for that? Is it just one that just kind of passed you by? Never really gave it much thought?
Let's just say werewolves in general don't really interest me too much when it comes to horror icons or monsters or, themes.
Well, just
Like
because
zombies for me.
you like cats, that's speciesist.
Mhm.
And Faye, what about you? You had not seen this one before, except for maybe like a scene or two, because it's impossible. We'll get to it, but you hadn't seen this before, right?
Yeah. Correct. I haven't seen it all the way through. I've had seen bits and pieces, mainly the transformation scene, because that it's so iconic.
Yeah, even like a passing knowledge of horror movies, you've seen or heard of this transformation scene in terms of like just horror movies, werewolves in general. I think it's almost impossible to have not seen at least a clip of even if not the whole 2-minute transformation at once, see parts of it when it's referenced in like any horror film documentary, which is all of them. But all right, so what I want to know first is what did you think of it, Faye?
I enjoyed it for its time, and even now it still holds up pretty decently. For me, it did. I enjoyed it. I would definitely watch it again if someone said, "Hey, let's go watch it." So
Awesome.
it was fun. I like the added twist of the person with the werewolf curse also has the curse of having to see the ones that he's killed as a werewolf.
Yeah, I want to get into some of that.
That was I enjoyed that. That was a nice adding to it.
Yeah. Monica, what did you think of it watching it again?
I forgot how batshit crazy it is in certain parts. And I was delighted. It was actually like, because I remember watching it the first time and being a little bored for some reason, but I guess maybe I just didn't give it a fair shake at whatever age I was at that point.
Sure.
And but yeah, no, it's great. It's good. It's got some, that one particular dream sequence. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
We'll
but
get
wow, there. I love that.
We
That
will.
is my favorite scene of almost anything, I think, now.
It's fantastic. All right, Dredd. So you're not a werewolf fan. You don't like your werewolves. What do you think of the movie, though?
Considering I watched this one now for the second time in a very short period, I say I still enjoyed it. That's still a good movie, and we'll go into that later, I guess. But everything holds up, I feel, except perhaps that scene that you were discussing that everyone knows. We'll talk about it. Funnily enough, the scene I remember from not seeing this movie is the one where he's in the hospital and he's first kind of dreaming about his werewolfness, and you see his face with the yellow eyes and the teeth.
Yeah.
Because I always figured that shot was from a vampire movie. And then I'm like watching this movie, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's a little out there. So it's a very simple story, right? David and Jack are two American kids. They're taking, I don't know, like 3 months and backpacking across Europe, essentially. And they end up in a small town in northern England, a little village called East Proctor, which was shot in Wales, actually. And they get told, they go into a pub. And I love that scene because they walk in there and it's that classic, everybody just stops and looks at them and it's like, oh, I would just turn around and walk right out. I'd be like, well, this is fun. I'm done here. I clearly am not wanted. But they stick around long enough to They ask for, I love how everything they ask for, she doesn't have. Like, do you have coffee? No. Do you have hot chocolate? No. Do you have anything hot? Well, you could have tea. Do you have tea? No, but I can make some.
Yeah.
And like that whole thing's going on, and they slowly, the one dude finally, the chess player, decides to start telling the story, and like everything's going fine until they ask about the pentagram on the wall or the pentangle.
Did
Which
you
was very
notice
rude.
This was
Apparently.
I'm sorry. 1 second before you get into that. This is the first time that I actually like looked stuff up because for the show or whatever, and I never noticed that other chess player is Rick Mayall.
Yeah, the younger one.
I was like, I love him. We were just talking about him in Young Ones, and oh my god.
So the trivia that I read was that Landis had seen Rick Mayall and another guy on stage and invited them to come be in the movie. He's like, I got parts for you guys. You can come, just show up. Mayall did. The other guy didn't because he didn't believe Landis, and that's how Rick Mayall ended up on the movie. Landis had seen him and was just like, yeah, come be in my movie. So yeah,
Cool.
I thought that was awesome because he's so young in this too. Because this would have
barely
been,
recognized him.
this was like a year or two before the Young Ones, I think, started, right? That was, I want to say that's like 82, 83 era.
I have the box that I can grab it and look at it.
But yeah, so they basically make asses of themselves in the pub, and they kick them out. They tell them to leave, but stay on the roads. And so what do? Immediately, the first chance they have, they leave the road and go walking through the moor. And they get attacked by something, and Jack is killed brutally. And that was one of the things I'd forgotten was how gory this movie is. Like, it's rated R, and it earns its R rating. But I had forgotten how like gory the attacks were, how much blood they were really showing in a lot of them, because I hadn't seen it in so long. But yeah, he wakes up 3 weeks later in the hospital. So
Yep.
we just get that time jump.
Conveniently.
Well, yeah,
Just in time for the new full moon.
Yep, precisely. So David is now a werewolf, but then we get like he starts hallucinating and dreaming, and that's where the movie starts to get really crazy. The scene you were mentioning, Dredd, with where he's running. There's the dream where he's running through the forest and he attacks a deer, or it was a deer. And then later on, there's another dream. He's back in that same forest, and then he sees himself in the hospital bed in the forest with the nurse looking over him. And then it flashes to his face. That's a freaky image. With just that, because the way they cut to it so quickly and just those yellow eyes and the huge teeth, which is basically what Landis ended up using for Thriller a few years later. Because this movie is what got him, Michael Jackson saw this, loved it, and wanted to make a werewolf-themed music video, and that's where Thriller came from. And then he brings Jonathan Landis in to direct it. So you can see a lot of that, this movie's influence on that music video. But yeah, I just loved like the crazy. I mean, he has the dream sequences, and then Jack just shows up to him in the hospital, and that's some of the best prosthetics I've seen in a long time, and they don't hide them. They're just like, no, you're going to be in a hospital where it's harsh, fluorescent light, bright, and the whole room's lit up, and they're just like, we're going to focus on it. I even love the little flappy skin piece. It's like hanging off of his chin. That, from what I read, wasn't really supposed to do that. They noticed it afterwards, and they're like, actually, it works better. Let's just leave it in. We're not going to reshoot it. And I loved how Jack deteriorated throughout the movie.
Yeah.
He just kept getting worse and worse. Mm-hmm. But to your point, Faye, you brought up, and I loved that angle, because werewolf stories have been around for a long time. At this point, there hadn't been as many werewolf movies as other monster-type movies. We had The Wolfman in 1941, and a couple of remakes of that or variations on it, but we had a lot more either mummy, zombie, or vampire movies prior to like the late 70s, early 80s. And then there was suddenly an explosion of werewolf movies. This came out the same year as The Howling. And then they ended up with like, how many Howling sequels were there? Does anyone remember?
6 at
17.
least. 6 or 7, yeah.
I'm gonna say 7.
And, like-
I was joking with 17, but
Half of those were in the 80s, I think. But this
most,
sort of...
most of these horror movies are in the 80s.
that's
I don't know how that decade can hold so much.
That's a good point. There's a lot of horror movies in every decade, but for some reason we have this connection with 80s horror movies being a
Maybe
big
it's
thing.
our
It was a time. I know I enjoyed them.
Yeah, but there was something like this helped to really, and I think some of it was that makeup effects were, the Rick Bakers and other special effects guys were getting to the point of being able to do some of these more outlandish types of transformations into creatures, instead of it just being Lon Chaney Jr. with a little extra fur on his face, and you've got a wolf man. Like, you could go a little crazier. I forgot, and I don't know, Dredd, you probably remember because you just saw it not that long ago, but did you realize that the transformation scene is 2/3 of the way through the movie? Like, it's an hour into this 1.5 hour long movie before he finally becomes a werewolf.
Yeah, I did remember it being late in the movie.
And I'd forgotten
which is a
that.
good thing because it leads up to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that in the beginning of the movie, then you're like, well, okay, we've had it. Cool.
Well, then it becomes
It's no werewolf.
oh boy. If you do that, then it becomes less like the movie is really, it's weird because there is a plot to it, but at the same time there's no lore behind it. There's no they just they get attacked by a werewolf in northern England and he dies at the end of the movie, and that's it. We know nothing else about the legend.
Most of the movie is about him dealing with the fact that he's gonna become a werewolf and seeing his dead friend, telling him to kill himself all the time. Him dealing with a new relationship with hot nurse, nice.
Yeah.
And
Which was a
the
quick
actual being a werewolf.
Yeah.
It was a quick relationship. I actually did read where Jonathan Landis said that part of that relationship was born out of he started writing this, came up with this concept and started writing this idea when he was in his late teens. And so the whole attractive nurse thing was something of, a teenage fantasy of his that he kind of worked into it. So I can see that. It's a quick relationship, but I also sort of understand it in a way, especially in a movie. The character seeing the idea that the werewolf curse makes you see everyone that you've killed is interesting, because that's something that I can't think of. I can't think of that in any other werewolf story. Like, there's been curses and things, but the being visited by the people that you've killed is interesting to me, because that would be rough, especially the longer.
The one weird thing is his friend, because he didn't kill his friend. The werewolf who made him a werewolf killed him, and it's about the ending the bloodline of the werewolf kind of thing, which seems a bit too much. It should be the one that killed you, basically, or bit you.
Well, but that werewolf then died, and that curse was passed on to David, I think, is the idea. And so him seeing his friend, and if you notice, his friend Jack is always actually kind of cheerful as a corpse throughout the rest of the movie. Like, he's very upbeat for somebody who was torn to shreds. Yeah, the way that he was.
Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. Kill yourself. Yay.
The hard part's over, he's done.
But
he doesn't have to feel any more pain.
True, but he also mentions being lonely and it's not a good deal for him, but he's kind of doing it through a smile too at the same time. Jaunty
he gets
is a good
friends.
He does get friends.
The more he kills, the more friends he has. Less lonely. Hey,
I'd like you to meet so and so and so and so and so and so.
The couple he killed, they were cheery. They were happy.
They were. That cracked me up.
They were polite as hell.
So was the guy, though. Really, when you think about it, for as much as stern as the guy was that he kills in the subway station, he was very polite. Which I may or may not have captured a bit of that.
That's that shot, that whole chasing in the subway. That is the stuff of nightmares, and that is just a great shot, because it's just.
Is that not just
solitude?
An amazing chase?
It's a solitude.
I was paying attention to all the movie posters on the walls.
Yes, you were.
I mean, that's the thing. There's all the movie posters that are on the wall, but it's a real tube station. There's no one else there.
I've been there.
There's no music playing throughout the whole chase. There's just this guy running by himself. You don't see the werewolf the entire time. You hear it, and that's it. And I love the staging of that because he was really... The movie had a little Jaws going on, right, where you don't show your monster. Mm-hmm. In part because the monster, quite honestly, didn't look great at the end. Like,
it looked cute.
It did kind of look cute, didn't it? And you're like, oh, I feel sorry for you. But that chase in the tube station was just so good, pace wise and just all of it. I loved that. That's one of my favorite chases now, I think, in a horror movie. And the guy running away from it isn't doing a lot of really stupid stuff so much as just he is not dressed to run away from a werewolf. And so when he's slipping all over the place.
Any of them?
No, but usually it's like, why are you falling down like randomly? This guy's wearing shoes on tile that he has no grip whatsoever. So it made sense that he fell down. I thought it was funny that he fell onto the escalator and then just sort of rode it up while laying down.
Yeah. It was like, I give up. I'm not getting up anymore.
Like at this point, I'm done. Yeah, that one was really good. I loved the way the first attack in the moor goes on is the same type of an idea, right? Where they're running away from it, and it's these long shots, these long cuts rather of them looking around and the camera circling them, and all you do is hear that horrific noise. Like, I'm not sure exactly what all they combined to make that sound because it's more than just a wolf howl. There's some other animals and things mixed into that, but that thing was eerie, and they used it a lot. Do any of you have a favorite moment or kill? Because he does have some of them are off screen, unfortunately. But Monica, do you have a favorite kind of moment in the movie?
Favorite moment. Jeez. I think it's funny. I don't want to steal. No, go to Dread first. He and I might share the same moment.
Dread, have you got a favorite?
Then you share the same moment.
Is
Go
it
ahead,
the
Dread.
moment I have a sample from?
Yes,
Okay.
that's now my favorite moment from this movie.
Okay. If I tell you I sampled a little conversation that's like 5 lines long and is somewhere post-transformation, what would you guess? If you know me.
I mean, my first guess would be with the kid and the balloons.
That was funny too. Yes.
Because that whole
Okay.
all the stuff in the zoo cracked me up.
Oh, yeah, that was. I just want to say, good on him for being naked in a cage with 2 dogs that aren't really wolves, I guess, and are
Like, really
tamed,
naked.
but still being naked with those animals there.
So were this an episode of Gore and we were doing the 13, we would have had our Pointless Boobies, Weird Wangs, and Moonies. We hit the trifecta in this movie. Because David's got his naughtin out, flapping in the breeze through quite a bit of the movie.
His naughty naughtin.
Speaking of boobies, I'll play the clip, okay?
All right.
And tell me this is not the most fun thing in the entire movie.
What are you doing here? You promised never to do this kind of thing again.
I never promised you any such thing.
Not you, you Twitter.
I've never seen you before in my life.
Oh, sorry.
It's now my favorite now that
So-
I've seen it. I can't.
I was cracking up with the dude answering. I didn't promise such thing. And
Yes.
then they just went on, and he's like, oh, sorry. And he just walks away. I'm like, I want to see that movie. I want to see that movie.
So that for anyone who hasn't seen it or doesn't remember, that clip is from when David goes to a porno theater in Piccadilly Circus. And he's sitting in the back of it talking to the corpse of Jack. And that's the movie playing on screen, which is called See You Next Wednesday, which is a running Jonathan Landis gag, that title. He's been using it since it was a line in 2001, A Space Odyssey. And for some reason, he liked that. And so he always has it as like a fake movie title in every movie that he makes. There's like movie posters for it and all that. And they actually made it for this. So that was apparently the first thing they shot for American Werewolf in London is the fake porno movie that plays in Piccadilly Circus, which was only done because when he was first writing the script, like 10 or 15 years earlier or whatever, all those theaters in Piccadilly Circus showed old cartoons. And so the scene was originally written with David going in and there was like a Roadrunner cartoon or something playing. And when Jonathan Landis went back to London, he found out that none of those theaters showed cartoons anymore and they were all porn. So he's like, all right, well, I guess I got to rewrite this now. They're going to be sitting in a porn theater. And that moment is hilarious. Yes. It's such a good exchange. I didn't promise you any such thing.
Never even paid attention. And it's Dredd being like, what? What did they just say? I'm rewinding that. And I'm like, okay, now that's my favorite part. Not that I don't enjoy, like, can I just put together, like, everything that happens at the end after the last transformation and the entire, like, people crashing and falling, like, getting run over by car. I'm just like, wow, this is the worst action I've ever seen.
That
People
escalated quickly.
Crashed and, like, were flung through their windshields. I'm like, you don't hit a car that softly and just... That wasn't enough. Yeah. I'm not a scientist. I'm just saying that wasn't enough force.
One of them, by the way, I think the one that goes through the store window is actually Jonathan Landis. The director gets tossed through a window there. So yeah, that whole scene is ridiculous.
It's ridiculously over the top, but I love it.
It's very
that makes this movie like the most people get killed by those kind of things instead of an actual werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very John Landis moment too. Like it feels like something that you would almost see in like Animal House or any of his other movies. It's just that kind of a moment to it. Faye, did you have a favorite moment in the movie? Anything that stood out to you?
I mean, I loved all the scenes with his friend after he died.
Those are so good.
Yeah. Just kill yourself, man. Just do it.
Because he delivers that line so nonchalantly, and like he shows up because when he gets up in the middle of the night and goes to the bathroom, and he walks into the bathroom, and like, okay, that mirror is going to move, and you're going to see somebody there, and sure enough, it does, and there's his friend, but he looks different now, and so like if you haven't seen it before, you don't remember. You're just thinking the next time, if he sees Jack again, he's going to look the same. But no, he's deteriorating more. Now he's all green. And like they go and sit down and he's picking up Mickey Mouse and playing with them and just being like a goofball. And I loved that. I loved all the stuff with Jack because of that.
You know, I said earlier in the episode that one of my favorite scenes from a movie ever was the dream sequence, and then completely forgot that when you asked me. Like, that's another, like, that's my... So those 1 and 2 is the fake porn and the dream sequence, because that is just one more batshit crazy thing.
The dream sequence with the Nazi werewolves.
Yeah,
that's another movie I want to see.
And was it
out of nowhere?
Landis didn't do it, but I know what it was. So a young Edgar Wright saw this movie, and it was playing on TV, and that scene came up. And then, like, according to him, his mom came in, saw it, and said, "That's it for tonight," and turned it off. So he ended at that scene. And he said he had trouble sleeping that night. But years later, he would do a fake movie trailer for Nazi, what was it? It was Werewolf Women of the SS for Grindhouse. Was that his? No, his was Don't. The fake trailer for Don't.
That was one of the funniest trailers ever, by the way. I'm in the theater watching that, and it's just like, don't.
That's right. Werewolf Women of the SS was Rob Zombie's fake trailer during Grindhouse. But yeah, that dream sequence is bonkers because it's just the family sitting around, and you hear the knocking at the door, and I'm watching it, and again, I'm not remembering that this is about to happen, and so it's not until he opens the door that I have the realization, okay, that's why they're knocking the way that they are. Like, because you always hear like jokes will have that knock in it for the Nazis coming to your door. And so then he opens the door and it's just a bunch of werewolves in Nazi uniforms, and they just start going to town on everybody, and it's hilarious. It's so ridiculous, and I couldn't help but laugh at it. And yet also they're freaky looking werewolf costumes.
Yeah, they kill the parents and the kids and his brother and sister. I mean, in just terrible ways. And then he wakes up from the dream, and the nurse is there, and she gets up, and it's like one of the greatest like fake outs, like a dream within a dream, which is like my nightmare, basically.
Inception.
Yeah, I love that. Complete surprise.
Yeah, I had one of my notes to myself while watching it this time was, I hate the waking from a dream inside of a dream. I hate that so much because I've had that happen to me before. I've been in a dream and woke up from the dream inside of a dream, and that's not fun. And it was so well done in this because when he does wake up, it's definitely the same hospital room, but it does feel a little weird. It does seem just slightly off, but it doesn't register. And so it's a great fake out when she opens up the curtains and just gets stabbed by the Nazi werewolf. Plus, just saying the words Nazi werewolf just sounds completely batshit.
I don't know,
crazy.
like one of them looked like a boar too. Like I feel like there was a couple different things.
Yeah, rare boar.
It's very weird, and it's funny because when I watched it this time, it's almost like I'm remembering stuff from my childhood where I know I've seen this before, and I've had either nightmares of it or like thought about it, but not remembered that it was from this movie. So it's definitely, which is weird because I really don't think I saw it before. Like I said, I saw it, but you never know. It might have been on TV or something.
It did. It did play on TV quite a bit. In the a while ago, so they would edit a few things out, obviously, but it did play. So it's possible that you caught like bits and pieces of it on TV, and it just burrowed itself in your subconscious, and then decided to scare you in your dreams. One of my favorite single shots in the movie was all the stuff at the zoo cracked me up because, like you said, the whole idea of him being naked in the cage with the wolves is pretty creepy. To begin with, like, good on him for that, because
that one wolf was sniffing.
Yeah, and what they said for the behind the scenes was they had just fed the wolves, but still, like,
sure,
I don't think I'm getting in there naked with them. And then I love David Naughton saying that at one point he's like, "Hey, when did you bring in all the extras?" And they're like, "Those aren't extras. The zoo opened up." He's like, "Oh, so there are moments in the movie, filming the movie, where he was just naked in the zoo." But the shot that cracks me up is it's just the shot of that couple sitting on the bench, and then he just sprints by holding the balloons and just grabs the jacket. Just naked guy, and he's in a dead sprint. And it was just the timing of it was so perfect. And it killed me. That was right after he took the balloons from the kid, where he's hiding behind that bush. And he's like, "Hey, come over here. Come here." And the kid's like walks over, and he's offering him money for his balloons, but then says he's a thief. And he goes, "Here, I'll show you," and just grabs his balloons and runs. It's just absurd.
Where was he going to have money?
The old lady's face was also great. "Oh, sorry." And the lady's like, "Okay. And I'm going to continue walking."
Oh, I just
England.
adored all of that. That was so funny. And then to find out that there were, actual zoo patrons in there for part of it makes it even funnier to me. So the transformation, Dredd, you alluded to the fact that you don't think that held up quite so well. Explain yourself.
Might just be for me in person, like personally. It holds up well because the face stretching, I really liked that. That looked great. the hand and feet stretching, while impressive on how they did it, looked a bit silly to me, maybe. Might just be me. I don't like long hands and feet, I guess.
Faye,
And
what
all
did-
the hair.
which they did in reverse. Apparently, they would start with longer hair and then shorten it over the course of filming it, and play those scenes backwards.
Makes sense.
And there's the shot of the hair growing. I know they did that with, where they pulled the hair
That was
through,
weird.
and then they played it in reverse. So it does look really weird.
That you could guess that was reversed because the way it intertwines a bit, like yeah.
Plus, it's
I prefer the second transformation because that way then you see the nails coming out as the fingers.
uh-huh.
That did it more for me.
Faye, what did you think of the transformation? Seeing it
Yeah.
in its full glory.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was really well done, especially for the effects that they had at the time.
Yeah. So
It's revolutionary.
So that was Rick Baker who did the creature effects for this. He was originally going to be working on The Howling, and left The Howling to come back and work on this because Landis was upset that he bailed on him. Because apparently it took Landis like 10 years to finally make this movie. So he had been working on it for a while in like the script phase and finally got money for it. And as the story goes, he called up Rick Baker, and Rick's like, I'm working on a different movie now. And he yelled at him on the phone. So he left The Howling and let Rob Bottin do that. And came over. And he won the first Academy Award for special makeup effects for this movie. And deservedly so. Monica, what do you think? What do you think of the transformation, especially that first one?
That is it's kind of horrifying, and like, I know it looks weird and it's definitely different than most of the things that you've ever seen, but that's the thing that's really jarring to me. It is so weird, and just like the way it seems like the bones are moving and the nose is like getting bigger, and like it's just like it's almost it's body horror, and that that freaks me out. So I really actually enjoyed it because it's not too disgusting. It's not like it's what's his beak that does the
It's not Cronenberg.
Cronenberg.
Level of,
yeah, it's not Cronenberg body horror, but it's definitely like your body's changing, and like there's like I know nowadays, CGI is getting better and whatnot, and they would do that with CGI, and maybe it would look great, but I wouldn't respect that as much as I do, what they did back in '81 with all this. So it's still impressive. You always got to put the lens of when it was made, of course, because I'm not going to watch like the 1940s Wolfman, which I still have to watch, by the way, and go like, oh, well, they didn't make the hair grow properly. It was only, on his cheeks or something. But like, it was amazing. I still think it's amazing. And nobody's doing that anymore. So, well,
not as
nobody,
much.
but,
One of the things I think was interesting is Jonathan Landis wanted the transformation to happen in bright light. That was one of the things with this movie. There's a lot of scenes that happen in brightly lit rooms or during the day that you wouldn't think of doing those in a horror movie, right? Like, there's stuff at night for sure, and a lot of the attacks happen at night to help kind of cover up the frankly weird looking actual werewolf, which was like almost like a wheelbarrow type situation, like somebody kind of on their hands and then on like a surfboard on wheels behind them to move around as the werewolf, because it was quadruped instead of bipedal. But to have the whole transformation take place, and it's not in shadows, it's not like super harsh lighting, it's just bright and you can see everything happening. And Landis wanted that transformation to go in such a way that you really felt that it was painful. And that's the thing I noticed watching it this time. It's 2 minutes long, and it just, you can feel all the pain that David is going through transforming and how difficult it is for him. Especially like the stretching and the bones changing. Because that was another thing I read. Rick Baker said that part of what he did was he based a lot of the transformation on looking at a canine skeleton and a human skeleton and kind of coming to the realization like they're both vertebrate mammals, and like the bones are roughly the same. They're just configured differently and maybe proportioned a little bit differently. And so it was going through that transformation and then doing everything with, these pistons and plungers and putting urethane over top of that to stretch like that without breaking. Oh, boy, it's like his hands stretching or his legs and feet stretching. It's rough to watch. You're right. It is
I'm burning up. Ah!
Yeah, he's like, I must take off my pants. I'm like, go ahead.
Hey, look,
After
David.
that transformation, I'm fine with. Also, we're not on Gore, but this gets the full Moonies award. Get it? Because it's full moon
Oh yeah,
and
Nice
it's this naked butt.
lots of naked butt.
full
He was naked a lot.
Full Moonies.
Which prior to this movie, David Naughton was known as the Dr. Pepper guy. If you remember, none of us are really old enough to remember the ad campaign, but you may have heard of the "I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?" That was David Naughton. He sang that song in the commercials, and that's what he was known for. And then he did this movie where he's tearing people's throats out and running around with his doodle hanging out. So.
What a career change.
Yeah. I don't think he did any more Dr. Pepper commercials after that, if
Nope.
memory serves. I think they were probably pretty done with him by then.
Prudish Dr. Pepper.
He moved on to Monster Energy.
Who, well played. I do wonder if... So,
Deep
I don't remember the transformation in An American Werewolf in Paris. But I know they were probably trying to use some more CG at that point. I haven't seen that since I saw it in the theater. So
Can you imagine? Like, look, I haven't rewatched it. I'm going to now that I've rewatched this. But like, can you imagine how bad it looks? 1997. Like, I'm really worried because I know they probably were trying to do the CGI.
it would have been definitely them trying to do that at this point. By the way, interesting piece of trivia that I read was this movie was almost An American Werewolf in Paris, because when he was making it and he was getting all the work visas for they had basically it was him, it was John Landis, Rick Baker, David Naughton, and guy who played Jack,
Griffin Dunn.
And they didn't want to give one for Griffin Dunn, and they were saying like, we got plenty of Americans here that can do that, and Landis was like, or I could just rewrite it to An American Werewolf in Paris and go shoot there. And they're like, okay, fine. You can have the work permit to get Griffin Dunn. And I thought that was pretty cool. So, and then for them
Griffin Dunn.
And he's really good in this. I don't know him from anything else, but he was really good in this. So I just thought that was kind of neat. I got off on a tangent though. Oh, transformation. So if they were to do this now, what I would want to see is the use. There's going to be CG used no matter what at this point in filmmaking. But if you get the right prosthetic people and the right special effects people to work with visual effects, I think you can get a good hybrid of the two.
Yes.
Because there's something to the tangible practical effects of this and the howling that you don't get with just a full, like, I remember a transition that I thought was unique at the time was, even though I don't love the movie Van Helsing, the werewolf transformation in that was kind of cool, how like the werewolves just sort of pulled apart their human form and kind of grew out from that, almost like they were shedding a suit. And I thought that was kind of neat, but it's all CG, so it feels very cartoony. And that's part of like this, because of not just the amount of time that it takes, but the fact that it's actual like physical props moving around, and you're seeing David Naughton's face, and then it's slowly changing. It's that pain factor of it that I think just adds so much to this particular transition. The fact that they had, and like the face elongating and growing more canine and all of that was really cool.
That's also a thing you won't get to these days anymore. what was it you said, 2 minutes long?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
They
it wouldn't-
remake it now, you're not getting 2 minutes
You
of
kidding
that.
me?
That's
You know how
no,
many
no, 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 no.
seasons- You know how many seasons of True Blood I watched, and the transformations for all the animal type people were just them basically shrinking into the animal? Like, that's it.
just a morph
It was
effect.
nothing cool. Like,
What?
all right.
No dry humping a bed.
I mean, there's a lot of humping in that show.
That's true.
I'll tell you that.
So that was one thing I wanted to mention this earlier. Monica, you said how like you thought the first time you saw it back when that it was kind of boring to you at that time, or that's your memory of it. And I kind of can understand that because it is a very slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was probably just the parts with like, well, none of the cool stuff going on, and me being young. And do you remember
Yes.
how time used to be when you were younger,
Oh yeah. No,
and how now it's like, oh, it's October?
Remember what you
it was
said when
just
we were
January.
watching this, Monica?
What?
Remember what you were saying when we were watching this movie earlier?
What did I say?
Oh, this movie moves along fast.
Now I say that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm
Back
like,
in the old days, no. Now I'm watching it. It was over in like that. Like it was really quick paced.
And that's-
Everything just
Yeah,
flowed.
it's interesting because it is paced well, but it is a slow burn. Like not a lot happens for big stretches of this. It's a lot of him just sort of dealing with it, or like talking to the nurse and talking to the doctor. So I can understand that feeling of it being a little slow and boring, but it's actually paced really well. And I think that
Yeah.
that again
Now I
is
feel
kind of John Landis is actually a pretty good director, even though he was known mostly for Animal House prior to this movie. Which when your marketing is like from the director of Animal House and people go in to watch this and they get what American Werewolf in London is, it doesn't surprise me that people walked out of it.
well, there's an animal, there's a house. I mean,
That's true. There was an animal in a house. But that was like one of the things that I liked about this movie was the mixture of horror and comedy. It's very much a horror film. But there's that Jonathan Landis comedy. He's, the Blues Brothers and sadly he just produced Blues Brothers 2000, so that's okay.
It's absurdly funny in a very dark and twisty way.
Yes.
Like it's funny, but like in a way that I know a lot of people wouldn't appreciate, because it's not like a happy jolly funny. It's like that's some sick shit right there.
It is
But,
very dark.
but I love it.
That's right up my alley.
Exactly.
mhm.
Yeah, and honestly, if you look at some of his other, Animal House, Blues Brothers, Trading Places, Spies Like
Trading
Us, Coming to America, like those are all Landis comedies, and he's got a lot of dark humor into it. So he got to kind of lean into that a lot with this movie, and it works, and it helps to balance out what was a lot gorier of a horror movie than I remembered it being, for sure. Especially like the scene where he's in the theater and he's talking to Jack, and then you meet all the people that he killed the night before, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're just covered in blood, and like, it was when the guy goes out to find his friends, the guy Sean, he comes out with his glass of brandy or whatever, and he steps on the arm. Like I'd completely forgotten about that, and squish, and then he looks down, there's just a hand there. I was like, yeah, okay. But yeah, I had
held on to that glass too.
yeah, he did. But I think that that humor balances it out and just makes this it makes it, I feel like, a movie that is more rewatchable because of that humor and the character of Jack and the way they play him makes him more memorable than if he was just giving him the warnings. And telling him like, you got to break the curse, like to have him be so jovial and jaunty, works. Go ahead. You're going to say something.
And the makeup in that last scene, like the last him, like where he's basically just like, you see like all of his teeth and the bones.
Oh, that puppet
After
was
he's-
awesome.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best one of it. It's just amazing. Like for we'll keep saying for 1981, but that's almost like saying you look great for your age. But like we mean it in
No, I
a
do.
you know what I mean? But like,
mean,
no, you just look great.
quite honestly,
like-
all the stuff with Jack looks good regardless of era.
God,
Like that just
exactly.
looked good.
That last one, Joe, like I love it. Like I wish there was like I could wear that as a mask for my face. Just
Yeah, that puppet was so good in that scene. It looked so just. I love that. And just the deterioration of his skin. It goes from like freshly slashed up, and then it's green, and it's getting nasty, and then it's like graying, and half of it's gone. Oh, so good. Rick Baker is just phenomenal. So, I liked the use of music and the use of no music in this movie. We talk about that sometimes on Gore, but there's scenes in this that have no music in them that it's more effective that way. And then they also had a lot of licensed music. There's like 2 or 3 versions of Blue Moon that play throughout the movie.
every song has Moon in the title. I read
Every song
that.
has Moon in the title. They tried to
wow.
get Cat Stevens, one of his song Moon. I can't remember the name of it now. Moon something, and this was after he had converted to Islam, and he told them no because he didn't want he didn't want his music associated with like a movie like that.
Yeah, I'll never look at Moon Dance again the same way.
But
Bad Moon Rising.
yeah,
But the music is super effective. The way that the movie ends and the last song,
mm-hmm.
I don't know if it made anyone else kind of laugh, but it made me laugh. Like, because I'm like, oh my god, just like it broke it. Like you were so like emotional in the moment, and then it's so abrupt. It's just, I love it.
Yeah.
It's what makes the movie iconic.
I mean, really, it is. This is just a fun, crazy, goofy, just nuts movie, but it's rewatchable, I think, because of those elements. Like just having a random dream sequence where he's running naked through the woods and then he just attacks a deer, and like you see him lean off screen and then come back with just a big chunk of red meat. And he just takes a bite out of it and then wakes up. Like just the weird discordance of that, or having a dream with Nazi werewolves that attack his entire family in his house. And then for him to call the house and like he has that conversation with his little sister in the phone booth. That's a rough
I mean,
scene.
the worst
be a nice
phone
bill.
conversation ever.
Oh,
His acting in that was a little rough.
it
But-
was. I mean, they shot the movie over 4 weeks, and like the majority of it was the transformation that I think took a week of their 4-week shooting schedule. So like they didn't have a lot
I'm
of
not
extra
blaming
takes.
him. It's a hard thing to do, the one-sided phone call conversation thing. It's
That's
a
true.
hard talent.
Some other items that would come off of our checklist of the 13 would be the cat. There is a cat.
Aww. That
It-
cat was so scared, but so cute.
So they got that effect from that cat by holding another cat up towards it, and it would hiss at the other cat.
See, and that is
Aw.
responsible. They didn't throw the cat or like pinch it or nothing, so
That's
I
right.
respect that.
There was just
There was a
whole
Volkswagen,
lot.
by the way.
Well, yeah, there were so many cars. That whole end sequence, like was that where the Volkswagen? Is that where you saw it? Was in the end
No,
sequence, or
they
was
were
it
like
earlier?
there's someone crossing the street at one point. There was like a Euro van.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
when he's going into the porn theater.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Mm.
I couldn't remember when. But yeah.
I also like how this movie it doesn't concern itself with like telling a big werewolf lore story or anything. They run into a werewolf in a town that knows about it. Everyone in that village knew about the werewolf and the curse and all of that. And then at the end of the movie, he gets shot and we just cut to credits. There's no resolution, nothing. That's all we get is what happened to David. It's his story. But I kind of like that because it adds an air of like almost spooky mystery to it because we just don't know. Like we don't know how far back this goes. Have there been werewolves in that particular area for a long time, and that's why they know about it, or did something just happen recently? And who was that prior werewolf? Because that could be confusing if you don't really know what's going on. He got attacked by this what looks like a bear with a dog face on it, and then that gets shot. And when he's lying there, he looks over and there's just a naked guy with bullet holes in him.
Mm-hmm.
This is an old naked man. Like, how long had he been a werewolf? We don't know. We don't know any of that. And I kind of like that the movie did that. It gave the mystery of all of that, while also kind of giving us part of it in that there's the curse. And as a werewolf, you see the people that get killed by werewolves. So,
and we also never find out why there was a pentagram. Excuse me, not a pentagram. What was it, Monica?
Pentangle.
A pentangle on that wall.
Which is a weird word.
Pentangle is a strange word. I will give you that. I think of them as pentagrams. And no, we don't know why that was on the wall.
I'm guessing it was something like protection against the werewolves, which is why they never left that place.
But at least cover it up.
They live there.
Like, put something in front.
Maybe that would block the curse. I don't know. Leave me alone.
Hard to say.
Did I make the rules?
Hard to say.
Yeah.
My question is, why didn't they just kill him when they killed the werewolf? They saw that he was attacked and mutilated, and they know it transfers with the attack.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Did they know it transfers? We don't know. That's why I'm saying I don't know.
You're right, though.
I mean, that's a very good question.
At the same time.
But that's again where we're like, we don't know how long the old man was a werewolf for them to all know about it. So did they know that it transfers if he doesn't die, or do they just know that the werewolf kills people? So I'm with you. I don't understand why they didn't just shoot him and call it a day, like, and just dump him in the moor, and no one would have ever known. But then we wouldn't have had a movie. So I guess that's why.
We couldn't have that now, could we?
No.
I guess they did kind of make them seem like some of the people in the bar were good people. They were trying to do the right thing. They were protecting their own, basically. I don't know. But
Pretty
yeah.
much.
But yeah, there's no real story. I'd like to know the story though, because I'm very interested. But I get it.
Like,
I want to know the story about the policeman investigating this. Because we forgot those, but they were forgotten for most of the movie as well. But the two scenes they're in.
No, but the inspector gets the Dick Halloran Award for showing up at the end and getting his head bit clean off.
True.
Because he just arrives like, what's going on here? Chomp. Well, all right, no more inspector. I guess the sergeant's going to get promotion now.
Yep.
I love the sergeant.
He deserves it.
Also,
yeah, he does.
Question. How did they shoot David as a werewolf and not hit her down that narrow ass alley?
My question exactly. I'm like, wow, they hit him with every shot and she's fine. Okay. Sure.
Oh, they were special forces. They're amazing there.
They were wearing black. They weren't special forces. They were just policemen in black.
Special forces.
So we heard your audio clip, which was brilliant, by the way, and I did not capture that one.
Thank you.
So good on you for that. But I did capture some other audio. I got to play it because there's a lot of great stuff in this movie worthy of capture. So here we go with this was the guy in the tube station, the most polite, rude person I've ever heard.
I can assure you that this is not in the least bit amusing.
Like, I just love that.
Not amused.
I don't know why that just made me laugh so much. When they're on the moors in the beginning of it, I was waiting. Again, it was like watching it for the first time. I was waiting for this line.
The Hound of the Baskervilles?
Because of course it was the Hound of the Baskervilles. On the moor.
The moors.
Mm-hmm. Frank Oz. We didn't talk about Frank Oz. He's actually technically in the movie twice, because the clip of the Muppet Show has Miss Piggy. Which is funny.
I forgot how they said that was a great clip.
It's funny because American audiences, that segment of that episode of the Muppet Show was never shown in the U.S. back in the day. It was because there would be, when the Muppet Show ran, there would be extra bits that ran in the UK because they had shorter commercial breaks than we did here. And so that segment of the particular episode of The Muppet Shows with Senior Wences didn't play in the U.S., so people assumed it was just either made specifically for this movie or something like that. But it was an actual clip, and I just watched that episode a couple of months ago. So I remember that specific thing where they were like, they were talking about Punch and Judy, and so that cracked me up. But Frank Oz is the guy from the embassy. He has that one scene.
Mm-hmm.
He was so funny because he's so like helpful, and then when he goes to leave, he just looks at the doctor and says,
"These dumbass kids, they never appreciate anything you do for them."
I was like, wow, his attitude changed quite a bit by the time he left. So I loved that. Let's see. I don't remember what this one is, so I guess we're going to find out. Oh, that's right. That was him practicing in the mirror.
Yeah. He was like, if I'm a werewolf. That's a great leading up to the transformation, by the way, because he's like, he doesn't really believe it, although he feels something different. And the whole scene, he's hanging out in the apartment alone. He's like growling at himself. He's just sitting there. It seems so normal. And then all of a sudden he's just like, I'm so hot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then like, it just takes such a turn.
Yeah. He went from 0 to 100 very quickly in that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cut that down, but I just loved him like in the mirror.
After locking himself out of the apartment.
Yeah. He locks himself out and has to climb through the window. The doctor had this one to say when he was talking to the nurse about, and I like that because the doctor was concerned about him for all the reasons that a doctor would be concerned for him. You know, that he could hurt somebody, and not that he actually thinks he's a werewolf, but if David believes that he's a werewolf, he could do some damage. And I just liked...
Well, I don't mean running about on all fours and howling at the moon.
Because I don't mean that.
That doctor, he had such an English voice. I don't know how to explain it, but the way he talked, it was just so English.
He had very wonderful diction, right? Everything was very crisp. Jack talking to David.
It's you, David.
But also,
take your life, David. Kill yourself.
Like, dude, back off a little bit. Come on.
That's like the first thing he says, basically.
I know.
Saying, hey, I'm dead. You're a werewolf. Kill yourself.
Like, dude.
Okay.
Made me. Okay, what's this?
You made me miss.
You missed the dartboard.
I never miss.
I never miss. That guy, by the way, has shown up in a lot of stuff too. That was, hang on, let me find his name. David Schofield, and I've seen him in a lot of other things. And I just loved the delivery of that line because he's just so pissed that he missed the dartboard.
In front of everyone.
Yeah, they all saw it.
The entire town.
Does he also like peppers?
Maybe. I don't know.
Or is that Scoville? Never mind.
Anyway, that's Scoville.
I thought I was making a clever joke.
The older chess player, the not Rick Mayall chess player, played by Brian Glover, when he was telling his story about the plane, I just loved I loved this line from it.
Over the Atlantic on its way to New York.
Just the way he just
to
chewed,
New York.
Chewed on those words was so good. Yes, Claire, we mentioned Rick Mayall earlier. I did too. The joke was funny. The joke was terrible but funny. I got two lines that I know Dredd could always back up with his one clip, but it was,
"It's murder then."
And followed by,
"Then murder it is."
So.
Murderer.
Yep, exactly.
Murderer.
Sheep. Oh yeah, this was David and Jack walking away from the truck right at the beginning.
Those sheep shit in my pack.
I don't know why. Just made me laugh. A lot of that was ad-libbed. Like them saying bye to the sheep was ad-libbed.
It was great. I
was
wrote that
adorable.
down because I'm just like, I'm gonna miss you. Bye, girls. It's so sweet.
Yep.
You're a lovely sheep.
I'm torn between feeling very sorry for you and finding you terribly attractive.
It's
but mostly very horny.
Where can I meet these women? Seriously, like.
I know. There was so here at the end he's in the theater and just the realization of what's happening and he just says,
And look at me, here I sit in a porno theater in Piccadilly Circus talking to a corpse.
and the moaning in the background.
Yep.
And just say how weird I find going into a theater, sitting with all a bunch of strangers watching porn.
You could ask Paul Rubens about it.
I mean, yeah. That used to be the thing. Timely joke, by the way.
About that?
It's a timely reference right there, kids. Ask your grandparents. For some reason, I captured this. I think it was just the way he says,
I was murdered. An unnatural death.
Really? No, I think murder is a fairly natural thing. Of course it wasn't a natural death, you weirdo.
I do look most unpleasant.
Oh, yeah. Same guy.
Most unpleasant.
Again, that guy had a way of saying things that just sounded so polite.
I do look most
English.
unpleasant.
I don't know. I found that funny.
Polite Englishman.
Yes.
Oh, like the policeman. I mean,
the police. Oh,
he's
God.
just kept wanting to be arrested, and the dude is like, "Well, you stop now, or I'm gonna arrest you." That's my English accent. Shut up. And he kept going. And the cop is like, "Leave me alone." And then he just, the moment he could, he was off. The cop was like, "I'm out of here." All right.
Pretty much.
You can't get
I
arrested.
want you
in
to
England.
arrest me. Do it.
Yep.
I was waiting for him to actually attack the cop.
If it was done today, he would.
I was waiting for him to, in the end, like after all he said and not get arrested, to say something completely innocent and then get arrested.
And the woman that he goes up to in that scene and says, asks her something, and she's like, I don't know. That was his wife at the time.
Aww.
So I liked that. Okay, I've got a couple more here. Let's see.
All mutilated. He must be a real right maniac, this fella.
That's right. That was the cab driver, and I had to get that because the cab driver was played by. Hang on, I got the name here.
Mutilated.
The cab driver was played by Alan Ford, and Alan Ford played Bricktop in Snatch, which I love that movie from Guy Ritchie, and he's the main antagonist. And I love Alan Ford's accent. And just, he has this way of like hanging on to certain words when he's talking. And I don't know, just the way he delivers lines always gets me. And so when I started hearing his voice, he hadn't turned around to look towards the camera yet. And I was like, wait a minute, I know that voice. And he turns around and he's got huge teeth too. And I'm like, holy shit, he's young. Obviously this was, 20 years before they had made Snatch. So I made sure to capture that audio of Alan Ford as the taxi driver. And one more, and this is the kid in the zoo. But this is after he loses his balloons. And he just goes up to his mom.
Yes, sir?
A naked American man stole my balloons.
What?
What?
American man stole my balloons.
Just so matter of fact about it.
What?
What kind of an accent? Like, I know it's English, but like, what kind of where does that come from? I want to know, Claire.
Yeah, Claire
right
can
into
tell
the
us.
show.
Yeah. Right in, let us know. But yeah, that's An American Werewolf in London. Now that you've gotten to see it, it sounds like everybody had a good time with it, which is always nice. We got positives across the board, so I've already made up for the host in my mind.
Not even close.
But I'm especially glad, Faye, you got to see this, because I feel like this is one you should have seen when you were younger, and kind of had that just in your back pocket to always have. Is like, An American Werewolf in London. Sure, let's throw that on. That's a fun, dumb movie. Because it really is. In the end of the day, it's really dumb, but it's so good. And there's a reason it became the cult classic that it is. So I'm glad we all got to watch this. This was fun. And hey, we're gonna do this the rest of the month. Does that sound like a good time to everybody? Because we don't talk horror movies enough.
No, not at all.
So we might as well just keep doing it.
Schedule's clear.
So if you enjoy this conversation and you don't know that the four of us do a horror movie themed podcast, or horror themed in general, called GORE, we do. Monica started that and roped the rest of us into things, and we do
now
that.
We're trapped forever because of the curse.
Twice a month. We do GORE, and it is, what is the tagline? A podcast to keep you up at night?
Yes.
Did I get it right? All right.
I think so.
I don't know. I usually am. I'm usually brain
horror
dead by that point.
Podcast to keep you up at night.
There you go. So we are going to be doing on this show all month. Now next week, I don't believe any of us have seen this movie. We like to do horror anthologies, and next week's movie is called XX. It is a horror anthology. Faye, you have seen it? You have, okay. Mm-hmm. I have not, and I don't believe Dredd or Monica, either of you have. So we'll have 3 first-time watchers of XX next week for our horror anthology for Spooky Month 2022. And if you enjoy this show and you want to watch us record it live, you can do that Sunday nights, twitch.tv/TV's Travis, for the live recordings of Wait You Haven't Seen. So you'll get to see the 4 of us all month here. Also, if you enjoy the show and you want to help out a little bit, there's now a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/WYHS and support this show for as little as $1 an episode. And helps out a lot if you want to do that. And the show comes out on Wednesdays, anywhere you can get podcasts. So just look for Wait You Haven't Seen, or go to tvstravis.com, and you can subscribe to it in your favorite podcatcher. Monica, besides GORE, where can people find you?
Oh, well, you can follow me on Twitter and Twitch at WickedKitten13. And you'll find out what I'm doing, when I'm going live, and all that jazz.
Excellent. Dreadly, where can people find you?
Oh, that's a tone I've heard before. Interesting. I have put all my links, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, that's about it, on a nice little website. And just go to thedreadzone.com and you'll find all that.
Excellent. And Faye, where can people find you when they're not listening to GORE?
On Twitter at ChibiFaylin.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I had fun. I'm glad all 3 of you seem to have had fun this week. So let's keep doing it next week with XX. I'm excited about that one. I'll be honest. When we were talking about what to do for this month and the anthology one came up, there was a few good anthologies that we haven't covered yet. But there was some parts about this one that intrigued me, so I'm looking forward to it. So until next week in XX, and I think we're a couple of weeks away from the next GORE episode coming out as well. Where can people find GORE, by the way, Monica?
Shit. It's
on the spot. Let's go.
Anchor. Something GORE podcast.
Anchor.fm/GORE podcast.
Thank you. I think that's what it is.
Yes.
Or you can follow us on Twitter at GORE podcast.
There you go. Please do. We want to hear from you. What did you think of An American Werewolf in London? What did you think of what was our episode that just dropped yesterday or Friday?
Ring. The Japanese one.
So follow at GORE Podcast on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at TV's Travis. And you can get my musings on movies and pop culture as well. And yeah, until next week, and XX, this has been Wait You Haven't Seen. Enjoy your movies, and yeah, don't leave the road.
Please, remain sane. At least until you're no longer our responsibility.
Apparently, the that accent, Claire and Ace don't like the BBC Surrey accent.
I do like it. It's
You mean the doctor?
calming.
Yeah, like the doctor.
I don't. See,
That
I like
doctor
the
kept,
other nurse.
reminding me of Peter Grace, by the way.
You know, the nurse that inappropriately identified, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I like her accent. I like the little boy's accent. Like, I like accents that are not so, like, unless the proper ones are being funny. You know, like, what's that on the window? It's condensation. Oh, wait, that might actually be. I don't know what that is. But they sounded proper in that cartoon. Although they weren't real English people, I'm sure. Condensation. He's pish. Okay, but she said it was the little boy was
East London.
London.
Yeah, I know Alan Ford's got East London Cockney accent.
Okay, so you go east and it's like that. You go west. Where is it proper? North, south? What is this?
I mean, I don't know that there is a proper. They're just regional. It's all over the place.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean, like the way.
East is poor. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't say like poor, but
Cockney is when you think of like
poor, it's fine then.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, or Snatch,
Yeah,
or Attack the Block.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, because we wouldn't say poor anymore, because that's not really how it is. But I guess back in the day, it was like whatchamacallit, you know, My Fair Lady and Pygmalion and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Surrey is in the south. It's a little more posh.
Posh.
I mean,
Hey,
a lot of those accents that you hear, like David Tennant when he was playing the Doctor, was using a more kind of estuary accent to be more properly English instead of his natural Scottish.
He's so cute.
He is.
Him in his tight little suits.
Yes, I know he's Scottish.
I'd watch that man any day. Sorry, that was out loud, wasn't it?
I mean, you're not wrong.
He's an attractive man.
Yes, he is.
He was an attractive man that dressed like a lesbian, and there was just something about it I really liked. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Claire, when I think I'm being dirty and I look at your comments.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel clean again.
It's never as bad. Yes, Peter Capaldi did get to use the Scottish accent. This is true.
Yeah, which I think is weird, but whatever. I guess because he couldn't change it.
I mean, it's possible, but also I think at that point, like, they were okay letting him do that. Mm. That was one of the funniest things in the first episode of the Doctor Who reboot, when you've got Eccleston on there and he starts talking and she's like, "Wait, are you from? If you're an alien, why do you sound like you're from the North?" And he's like, "Lots of planets have a north."
I mean, Eccleston was my favorite.
He was the darkest.
I just like Christopher Eccleston in general. Like, even when he's playing his role in Gone in 60 Seconds, that movie is not good and his role is so goofy and cartoonish, but he's awesome. He's just so ridiculous. Like the mob boss, car thief guy who likes to make furniture out of wood. Like, that's his quirk, is he makes furniture.
No, you know what? Matt Smith was my least favorite. Eccleston I liked. Tennant I loved.
I like Matt Smith.
Oh, I could not stand his face. I stopped watching the show. I went back and I watched it, and I'm like, he's not so bad, but he's still my least favorite. So there's that. There's just
That's
something
fine.
about him.
Part of, like, I like Matt Smith, but part of his run fell into a little too Stephen Moffat heavy because Moffat took over as the showrunner and had a way of writing himself into a corner and then just like hand wavy punching his way out of it.
Yeah.
But
I
Matt
switched
Smith,
over to Torchwood.
Torchwood was good. Matt Smith did have Amy Pond and Rory, so like they were great companions.
But Rose, I wanted the romance.
Yeah. Oh, Rose was great.
Also, Donna.
Donna was great. I like Martha. I like
Dr. Donna.
Dr. Donna. I should go back and watch all that. I have new shows I need to watch, but yes, let me go back and rewatch that for a second time.
I know.
Yeah.
I have all these new shows I need to watch. I'm like, do I want to go back and watch Psych again? Kind of.
I know.
Because it's so good. I need
started
to.
the rewatch.
I'm kind of bummed that Psych 3 is only available on Peacock Plus Premium, like the premium
Only
tier
knew
of
a
it.
place.
If
I
only
know.
you knew a place.
I did very much enjoy Psych the movie and Psych 2 Lassie Come Home, though.
There's a very complex way for you to get it
I'm sure that there is. I'm sure that there
in
is.
Dread.
I mean, I have the Peacock Premium. I mean, I was able to get it for $20 for the full year.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Well, there you go then. No, not
I
free
had to
cock.
sign up for it because the commercials were just pissing me off.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
unsign up for it because I finished watching a show that I was watching, but
I have to deal with like Freevee for Highlander because it's the only place it's streaming anywhere, and I only had the first 3 seasons. So I've been going on Freevee
all
to
of
get them. And yeah, well, and honestly, the commercials there don't bug me because they do a fairly good job of throwing them in during the commercial breaks of the episode. But also because when I'm watching that, I'm also recording audio and taking notes. I can use those commercial breaks. I got like 90 seconds to quick write down a bunch of notes of what happened in the previous part without having to pause it.
commercials aren't so bad. Like you know what? I actually downloaded or I put Tubi on my Fire Stick, and I actually understand what Brian Dunaway was saying because it's like, you know what? It kind of feels right. You can get up to pee. It's not like too much, and the commercials aren't
You
bad.
don't have to watch the commercials.
It's like,
Yeah, that doesn't bother
if
me.
that's the only place they have something.
Mm-hmm. All right. I am
The
going
only
to-
thing I didn't like in America was you had this weird thing. I don't know if you still do that, but you have plenty of commercial breaks. Okay, that's fine. But you have the thing ends, the movie or show ends. You have a commercial break,
and
then
then the
you
credits.
have the credits.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
would
I'm
you do
like,
that?
What?
Like, don't do that.
Oh no! Now what they do is they shrink down the credits, and while the credits are
Okay.
playing, they're playing a commercial.
Well, that's better. But like you're like it's fine, it's done. Okay, commercial fine, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. Paid credits. Ah.
I was like, don't do that to me. Put a commercial in the beginning and in the middle. Thank you. The end. If it's a show, at least.
And you have the end of the show, commercials, credits, commercials, opening of the next show, commercials, and then the
Yeah.
show starts.
That's
I'm
just
like, what am
crazy.
I watching?
And it's always the same commercials. Like if it's like interesting or different.
Also,
but
if the
now,
commercials
how
are
many
long enough,
penis
then I
pills
can
you
do stuff.
need?
If you give me like 30-second commercial break, what am I doing in that 30 seconds? Like, I can't run and get a
Watching.
snack.
They want you to watch.
Those jerks.
Well, yeah.
So now I have to sit here and watch it, wait, pause it, then go do my thing and come back.
Well, so Ace brings up, like, at least we don't have to pay a license to watch TV. This is true, but that's why we have ads all over everything. And even then, like,
but
cable TV started as commercial free. Everything starts commercial free, and then ads slowly work their way in because they just need more money.
Just look at all the streaming stuff. That was the thing without ads. Just watch, binge, yay. Oh, now we're going to add some ads. Yeah.
Or with Hulu, you get to watch the shows for free, but there are commercials in there. Now you pay and still get commercials, or you pay more and get limited commercials.
Yeah,
And
or
then
Netflix.
they wonder why piracy
What happened?
just
Why
doesn't
does
go
Hulu
away.
have ads now? I haven't noticed yet.
Hulu has a tier with, still has tiers with ads, yeah.
Well, yeah. I have the one that's I have 2 Hulu things because one of them is free through my Spotify.
Yeah, I have.
But I
it's part
never
of the
use it
Disney
because
bundle.
I can't deal with it.
Yeah, speaking of Hulu, I need to re-up my Hulu for a couple of the shows that are coming back, and of course,
Oh no,
Hellraiser.
Chucky.
Hell yeah.
Chucky, I get through Peacock.
Oh yeah.
Hellraiser hasn't come out yet, right?
No, it's next week.
Somebody
Interview with a Vampire came out, and I completely missed that.
Somebody on YouTube already said, put up like they had a review of the new Hellraiser, unless they were using a still frame from the new one, but reviewing the old movie, which I wouldn't put it past some of these YouTube people.
Maybe they got an advance copy or something. Do they do that sometimes?
I can't imagine just random YouTuber getting an advanced copy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because I thought it was the 6th that it was supposed to come out, which is tomorrow, right?
No, what? No.
No,
Hellraiser.
Tomorrow's the 3rd.
I thought it was the 8th, but it could be 6th.
It could be. It could be the 8th. I don't remember.
If only we were people who reported on these.
I wonder if only we had something that could tell us this. Yeah.
Monica, when you import these audio
7th.
files into Reaper, are they often not all the same length? You ever had that before?
You mean by a little bit or
Yeah,
a lot?
like a tiny little bit at the end.
Yeah, sometimes by a tiny bit at the end.
All right. Well,
It's
then
weird.
I won't worry about that.
Yeah. I don't know why.
People have a longer.
But every so often it's just the tiniest little bit different. And I'm like, did I do that?
Yeah, that was my worry, but nope, looks like it's okay. So.
Yeah, and it's the 7th that it comes out.
The 7th? Okay.
Well, the 7th for you,
Chucky
but
the
the
6th?
8th for me, probably.
I think Chucky's the 6th.
Ah, yes, Chucky first.
Chucky
So
first.
much this month. So much.
Yeah, there's too much to do. Are you going to bed, Claire? Love you.
What's the census on Lost Boys? Asks Claire.
Census? Like, how many are there?
Yes. I don't I'm not sure.
I think there are 5 Lost Boys, and then the 3
3?
protagonists.
3 movies.
Oh,
There's 3 movies.
I was making a joke on, like, you know how they take the census and it's like how many people.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like doing the census of the movie.
Ah,
The Lost Boys.
Yeah.
You meant what are the reviews?
Yeah, I think that's what you meant.
Echoes.
Oh, now you're double.
I was echoing
Why
there
are
for
you
a second.
Double,
I had
toilet.
to add a track in Reaper because I normally only have 3, and I had to add a track, and then it was armed, but I got everybody's MP3s. They all downloaded, so we're good there.
Yay!
I'm glad that worked too. This was a good experiment for me in trying, and the sync was good. Like audio and video syncs just fine. So it's good to know when I have multiple people that it's because that's just gonna be easier for the editing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this is fun. Thanks, guys. Let's do it again. Let's do it again next week. I realized that I jumped out of there. So I closed Zencaster. I'm sorry. See, now nobody can hear you. There you are. I closed the window with Zencaster. So all of a sudden, so nobody could hear any of you there for a minute.
Monica still hasn't seen it.
Nope.
Oh, there she
There it
is.
is. Yay.
Fine.
There she be.
That was me. I closed the Zencaster window.
I can't see anything.
No. All right.
You should use the message thing inside the channel.
Oh yeah, I should.
Because I can't see the Discord because it's over there.
Oh.
I'd have to be like.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks everybody, and thanks. Pardon me, everybody in chat for hanging out. It was fun. And Claire, you got to get caught up on episodes. You're way behind.
Rude.
XX.
No, XX, not X. Though we will watch X at some point.
It's double X. It's an anthology. All right,
Also
everybody.
not triple X, because if you
Nope.
see Vin Diesel, you're in the wrong movie.
That's also a very different movie.
We'll
All
make
right.
sure Dreadly has it on his Plex for you to check it out.
Put XX on the Plex.
It's already there.
On the Plex.
Boom. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.